Well, greetings and welcome again, everyone, to another episode of Karl's Spirits. Tonight is episode 70, and in this episode, we're going to be looking at our third expression of Smoke Wagon. This will be Smoke Wagon Uncut and Unfiltered at 116.8 proof. So it's going to be a little bit higher than the two previous expressions we've looked at. We have looked at their straight bourbon and their small batch bourbon in episodes 68 and 69. So if you're interested in those, I would encourage you to go back and watch those two particular episodes. Also, in those episodes, I tend to give you a little bit more of the history of the bourbon and the brand. So go back and look at that if you're curious. But the short story is very simple. Nevada H&C Distilling, that's the company that produces Smoke Wagon, created the Smoke Wagon brand from MGP stock out of Indiana. They took that juice and then they're going to age it in warehouses in Nevada. And I've been really impressed with those two previous versions. I've really enjoyed that. So we're going to see if the Uncut Unfiltered can hold up. Oh, before we get into tasting, what does uncut and unfiltered actually mean? Well, a couple of different things. First of all, simply put, there's been no water added to proof this bourbon down. Essentially, you're drinking it exactly as it came out of the barrel as far as its proof. Unfiltered is a little bit more ambiguous. In this particular case, it has been filtered in that they probably dumped the juice through a very rough filter to pull out the floating chunks of char. No one wants that, okay? But it is not filtered in that they remove some of the smaller particulate, and they did not remove any of the fatty acids that usually go to preserve a lot of the flavor. Again, in essence, what you're really drinking with uncut, unfiltered bourbon is about as close to drinking it directly from the barrel as you can possibly get. So that's kind of what that means. Into the mash bill for uncut and unfiltered. This is going to be MGP's high rye expression. That means it's 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. The other particular expressions of Smoke Wagon that we've looked at has the exact same mash bill. So really, this is just a factor of age and blending between these three bottles of episode 68, episode 69, and episode 70. Age. Age in here is a blend of 4, 6, and 10-year bourbons. All of them were handpicked and blended by the owners of Nevada H&C. It's going to be barreled at 116.8 proof. This is also batch 68, which was actually bottled on May 25th of 2021. So about a month and a half ago from when this was actually recorded. So I don't know if you can see, they actually have a sticker on the back as far as date it was bottled. This is batch 68. There's actually a couple places online you can look up every batch since I think batch 21 or 22 is when they started putting the little sticker on here. Incidentally, in 2020, they produced about 30 or 40 batches during that time. So I think that also speaks to the popularity that Smoke Wagon has really begun to enjoy. So on to more tasting notes. In the glass, I'm going to call this hay or straw colored. It's actually pretty light, much lighter than it appears here. It looks very dark, but it is actually not. What does impress me, it's got thin lines, but they are super sticky. They really cling to that glass. Okay, the nose. First of all, definitely the first thing I really get here is alcohol. There's some alcohol here, 116.8 proof. Typically, I've got to the point where I don't get a lot of alcohols unless it's a really high alcohol blend or it's a very young bourbon. This particular one has more than its fair share of it. But I also get a lot of smoky caramel. So it's like a caramel that has been smoked in a smoker almost. It's got a sweet, smoky aroma. And after it sets in the glass for a while, remember, this is not the first time I've had this right now, but after it sets in the glass for a little bit, I do get some dark raisin notes as well. I'm still just getting that real smoky caramel at this point. This is a medium mouthfeel, which is actually surprising to me because I expected it to be a little thicker, more chewy. And the notes that I get right away on the front are ginger and some dark cherry notes. They really dominate this pour. And what else dominates this pour is a big blast of hot rye spice toward the back. In fact, there's a lot of hot rye spice toward the back. You can call it white pepper or cracked pepper, but it's a really high spice note, which you would expect. This is MGP's high rye mash bill. The finish is pretty oily and it's long. I do like the finish on this. Aside from the heat, it has a long, oily finish, which is very representative of that high rye, I think. It does produce a nice Kentucky hug. Overall, my takeaway here on this particular pour is I'm kind of torn. I really enjoy high proof bourbons. I do. I like a lot of high proof bourbons, but this one seems to miss the mark for me. When I think of high proof, I want something that has a very robust flavor, not necessarily something that burns my taste buds as the alcohol just blisters my mouth. That's not what I get here. This is actually the second time that I've really sat down to taste this particular bourbon. And I must say, I enjoyed it more now than I did a week ago. It's still not my favorite pour. It's not my favorite expression of Smoke Wagon. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So first of all, I really enjoyed those other two expressions, the small batch and the straight. Both had more sweetness to them, which I enjoy. This one really misses this mark. There's a lot of bitterness and a lot of really astringent notes here that it's not necessarily alcohol. It's just not something that I'm really into. Second, there's a price and availability issue with this uncut and unfiltered. MSRP, according to the distiller, is about $65. Okay, so this particular bottle was purchased for $99. So you're looking at a $30 plus markup right there. And though while we were looking for this bottle, we found it to be as high as $180 to $185. Now, there's a lot of markup in that. And that's not necessarily Smoke Wagon's fault. That's the fault of the distributor and the fault of the retailer, as it's limited availability. And third, I compared this next to a Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Has been one of my standard go-tos now for many years. And I have to say that it's the same proof, 168 or 116 proof, and for about a third to a half of the price, Rare Breed meets my flavor profile much, much better. It's got more of those sweet notes that I really enjoy. This one, it has that smoky caramel that I like, but it does not last throughout the taste. So what am I going to give this on the Karl's scale? Like I said, I'm kind of on the fence here. I really enjoyed the first two a lot, and I was looking forward to tasting this particular bottle, but it's just not there for me. I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. That's 3.5 stars. Will I taste this again? Absolutely. Will I look for this one again to purchase? No, I won't. I've had it. I've done enough. Now, a different batch may be completely different. That's kind of the beauty of bourbon. Different batches are going to produce different flavors. It all depends on the blend of barrels that are dumped to produce a particular batch bottle. Your opinions may differ. You may love that particular batch. You may love the uncut, unfiltered because you like those notes. That's the beauty of bourbon, as I've said many times. You have to drink what you like. This just doesn't quite meet my profile. So I'm going to go 3.5 stars. Guys, I hope everyone has had a great time. And as always, I want you to stay safe and peace and happy pours. That dark cherry starting to come through with a little bitter chocolate. Still good-ish.